So I feel like this video is going to feel a little bit like a TED Talk because I'm going to share an experience that we have had recently, but then also hopefully come to some form of action, basically to, truly educate all of you out there who are watching, to crowdsource information and experiences, really to better the kids who are in foster care. Foster school age kids, it adds another level of, complexity as far as, enrollment and, what school are they going to go to, depending on where you live and where the child is living before they're placed with you. There might be some, transferring of schools. And for the child, it's really going to be in their best interest to keep the continuity of their school. So our first foster child, who was a teenager, when she was placed with us, it was in the middle of a school year. And one of the questions that we ask when we're getting that placement call is, will they stay at their current school or would they be transferring to our school district? And that helps us know what are our expectations as far as like transportation, what's that going to look like to our schedule? Is it something that we can accommodate? So for our first foster kiddo, she maintained her, school that she was attending at the time. When Miss A came to us, our second foster child, we again asked, she was placed with us, right in the middle of summer, and we were told that she would switch to our school district. That was the only, conversation about it. So this past year, she has, excelled academically, but I think socially, there's a very big difference between the two schools, the one that she came from and the one that's in our school district. Also, like, just to be frank, there were some issues of racism at the school. And of course, that's not something that we tolerate. The school, claims to not tolerate it as well. But, we know that Miss A has experienced some forms of racism, and we want to do everything we can to protect her. So, really, we were looking at, what are our options as far as, getting her back to her original school. And I was talking to a friend of mine who actually started off as a viewer of the channel. So Lisa talked to me and she started mentioning this like federal act. And she said, well, there's a federal act that makes it possible for kids to stay in their school when they're placed into foster care. I was blown away by this. This was not something that I was, told about. And, she did say that, it's federally, the act, but then each state, decides like kind of, the details of it, which, I'm going to talk about. I feel like that is an area that, gets to be looked at and, really see, is this the best way to be operating? So this act, it's called ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, and there are specific things within that act that address kids in foster care. So immediately I start doing research, making calls. I talked with the City Board of Education, the Ohio Department of Education I left messages with. I talked to the school itself to see, what their policies are, and, really just tried to have this web of information trying to figure out, like, how do we get her to go back to the school that she was originally from? And once I got the caseworkers involved, because actually I wanted to find out the information first, then bring it to the caseworkers, see what's possible, because my experience has been that, there are some times that I feel that, the county, the caseworker might go down the path of least resistance, like whatever is going to be like the easiest, the least amount of paperwork. And that's why I really wanted to take charge and get the information. Caseworkers have so much to do. For them to spend as much time as I did, like just making phone calls and finding out what, was possible, I didn't want to burden them with that. So when I did come to the caseworker and talk about this, it very clearly states that a child who is placed into foster care can maintain their school of origin and that transportation would be provided. And I actually think that it's either like, okay, well, does the county cover it or is it the school's responsibility? Like, that's usually where the gray area is. And, because nobody wants to take responsibility for the transportation of the child due to, logistics, financial, issues, stuff like that. So that's usually where it gets a little bit messy. So I was trying to find out, where the transportation responsibility would lie. And just to be, honest, because of the distance and where we live and where her original school is, John and I could not drive her to and from. We would be in the car, I would say, over 3 hours a day. So not only would the time be an issue, but also just the amount of money, time, gas, that sort of thing. So it's not feasible for us to do this on our own, and we were really looking to see what support we could get. So when I brought it up to the caseworkers, emails started to come through, and just like I thought, it kind of got shut down immediately. And what they're saying is that, yes, under ESSA, the child could have stayed at the school of origin, but since she has already transferred, that does not apply to her. So we're now in a position where, hindsight is 2020. We were not told that that was an option last year, and now she is stuck at this school when she could have been at her original school all along. And it's incredibly frustrating to me because as a foster parent, we have so much information that is thrown at us in training, and none of it we remember by the time we get a placement. And really, you just start to, learn things as you go. And so, yes, the more, experiences you have as a foster parent, you tend to know the ropes, you know who to talk to, what resources are available. But, you have federal laws, you have state laws, you have county policies, you have agency policies. All of these things get really, really muddy for foster parents. And, again, we've talked about this, across the board. You can't say that this foster rule applies across the board because, everywhere is different. And it just makes it really hard as foster parents to, kind of cross-reference to support each other. Like even my friend, she lives in Illinois and we're in Ohio. We don't have the same policies. And so unless you are connected with local, foster parents, and you're hoping that you can crowdsource information together, personally, I question, is that the best thing for the kids? Is it the best thing for the system? And these are things that don't change overnight. Luckily, my job is to work for an organization that, is involved in the conversations that happen for, the state of Ohio. And so I'm starting to learn kind of what happens on the back end, what are the rules, where can you go to get certain information? I just feel like it shouldn't be that difficult for foster parents to have all of the information. We shouldn't have to need to go to multiple different places to make multiple calls just to get simple answers. And so with all that being said, I'd really like to use this video and this situation that we've experienced where, ultimately it's Miss A who suffers. She's the one who had the opportunity to stay at her school, to maintain her friendships, to have that, comfort and the continuity, in a time where her life, was changing. She had that opportunity, and, because we weren't informed of this, federal act, she missed out. And now bringing it up, it's too little too late. So I'd really love to use in the comments here, I would like to hear from foster parents, caseworkers, GALs, CASA workers. Please talk about if it's a federal act, state it as federal information. Put links down below on, great resources that, do a good job of kind of congregating all the information. If you, have experiences where you've learned a similar lesson, please post it. Let us know what state rules apply, what agency rules apply. And just, I just want to be able to crowdsource information so that, maybe there are resources out there that I'm not aware of that do a good job of this already. But it's time that we get this information out to everybody. And I have a specific request. If you are involved in the foster care system, if you feel strongly that you've had the experiences, that you have the education and the knowledge, I would love to do an interview with you to talk about some of these things, to bring light to, things that foster parents need to know. Because I'll be honest, this binder of information, this is my policy and procedure manual. No one is expected to memorize all of this information. I'm never going to be able to recall all of this. Yes, it's a good resource to have so that if a situation comes up, I can go into the book and find out. But you know, you don't know what you don't know. And so sometimes, you know, as a foster parent, you don't know that something's out there that you should be looking for. That's really what I wanted to talk about today. And, you know, I appreciate you all coming to my TED Talk. Drop a comment below. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, turn your notifications on so you can be alerted at our upcoming videos.